Hi, and thanks for joining us on Live with Squacky. I'm Val Kelly, and I'm so excited about our special guest today. We have Heather Costa all the way from LA, and we're so happy to have her because Heather is a remarkable talent who specializes in commercials for radio, television, internet, and related media, animation and video games, audiobooks, and so much more. So thanks for joining us today, Heather.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So I'd like to start by having you tell us your story, including how you got started in voiceover and what it's been like to move all the way from New York to LA.
Sure. Well, we just celebrated our 2-year anniversary here, so that was exciting. I can't believe I feel like it just happened. So I've been doing voiceover since 2004. I started out doing it like a part-time thing with a 9-to-5 job right out of college. And it built over the years, just in different aspects of the industry. I love it. I went to school for opera, for singing, and I love the performing, acting side of it, but I hated doing it in front of people. So when I discovered voiceover, I realized, wow, I can be in this tiny little booth all by myself. Nobody has to see me, and I can perform. I realized I was home when I discovered that. So over the years, my husband and I talked about, someday making the move to LA. And it was very scary because we were born and raised in the Northeast. And we always said that when the time came, or we would know, or if there was really a reason. And over the years, more and more work that I was doing was kind of really pulling me here. And it was just this big dream of like, oh, but what if? And I wonder, and should we do it? And, it took a lot of convincing ourselves. And it was September of 2016. My husband and I took a trip. We did kind of the whole California coast. We started, or I should say, part of the coast. We started in San Francisco, got to meet with some great clients and agents there, and traveled down to LA, met with people here. And it was just kind of this eye-opening thing of this is really, where I should be. And my husband remembers I was walking into, one of the meetings, and he knew, he's like, I have a feeling when I see her again, our lives are about to change. And he said, when I came out those doors, I was floating, and I got in the car and I was like, yep, I think we should move to LA. And so we flew back home and we told our kids. I have 2 boys who are now 11 and 7. And as you can imagine, they had mixed emotions. They were excited, for the adventure and for warm weather and Disneyland and, a pool and all that stuff. But, they were not happy to uproot their lives. But we said, oh, it'll take some time and we'll figure things out. And so we put our house on the market, and my husband started applying to jobs, and everything happened so quickly. Not even 2 months later, we were back in California. My husband was interviewing. Our house was under contract. That was it. And then January we moved. So it was quick, exciting, and the first year had a lot of growing pains. But ultimately, it definitely was the best choice, and I'm really excited that we did it. We all are.
That's great. That's such a great story. I'm so happy and excited for you. I think that takes a lot of, I'm from upstate New York, so I totally get where you're coming from. It's something I've always dreamed of doing. I don't know if I ever will or not, but the thing is that everything fell into place for you, and it was like it was meant to be. So that's so great that it all worked out. And so what has the biggest difference been so far in your move from New York to LA? Like, as far as your voiceover work is concerned?
So when we lived in New York, we were about an hour north of the city. We lived in the Hudson Valley. And even though New York City was right there, I rarely went in for voice work. Occasionally I would, and I'd do some auditions or a session or two. But the majority of work I was doing was from home. And so moving here, I still do the majority of my work from home. But there's so much more available. So when I have an animation session, I drive a half an hour to Burbank, and I'm now in a studio. There's a lot more classes that I take here than I did in New York, a lot more networking opportunities, a lot more workout groups, voiceover workout groups.
Yeah.
And it's just there's an amazing voiceover community in New York, and I miss them very much. But I think there's an even bigger one here in LA, and I think that there's a lot of different type of work also. There's a lot more animation here, which I didn't have there. I know the audiobook community is really big in both places, but it wasn't something I was really a part of until I moved here. But so for me, that's all I really know. There's just so many more opportunities. I mean, I leave the house a lot more. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's a good thing, though. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I want to take a step backwards for a second. I'm so interested that you studied opera. I didn't know that about you. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
And
the Art School of Music.
Cool. So do you use that in your voiceover work, or?
I do. So I studied opera, but really growing up, I wanted to be a Disney princess. So that's where the singing came in. Right? So, when I was younger, I wrote and performed folk songs, Disney-esque songs. And so I was drawn to the singing. I minored in the oboe. So I had, lots of music in my background. Now, I use my opera training for, breath and support and placement, just the physical instrument. And I've done some jingles. I use singing and animation in toys. I just think the musicality of what I learned has helped me as a voice actor.
That's great. That's really cool. That's
and I also
really interesting. Yeah.
Teach just to keep it fun. I also teach private singing lessons with kids and adults that to just keep that music going in my life. So
that's cool. That's really neat. So have you been pursuing on-camera work as well since you've been out there, or did you in New York too?
It's kind of intimidating, I think. It kind of goes back to probably that whole performing in front of people. I've gone, over the years, I've done some on-camera auditions where an agent will be like, hey, are you interested? You fit the specs. I've thought about it. I don't know. There's a different pressure that goes along with it. And there's a different culture from what I hear. I don't know. It's still always a possibility, but I haven't as of yet.
Got it. Cool. So it's out there. We're putting it out there. So
yeah.
We'll cast Heather. Just contact her. I'm putting it out there for you. And you'd be like, thanks, Val. Now people are calling me and do all these on-camera commercials. Actually, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't mind, so it'll be all right.
Thank you. Yeah, it's probably one of those things. It's like just getting over that initial fear of it and being like, oh, all right, I can do this,
Yeah.
So, who knows?
So as a mom, wife, and a full-time voice actor, how do you find balance in your life? Because that's something I think is always so challenging for people.
Yeah. Well, it helps that I'm a little type A, or obsessive with organization of my schedule. I'm very goal-oriented, and every night before I go to sleep, I have my whole schedule laid out for the next day, timed out with, when I'm doing everything. Otherwise, I can't. Otherwise, I feel like, oh, I should be doing this when I'm doing that. And it may sound silly, but, I know I have the time before the kids go to school is mom time. When they come home, I stop working and spend time with them, and then I go back to work for a little bit, and then it's basically from 4 o'clock until, maybe 8 o'clock is all family time. And then once they're in bed, I'll go back to work, because I kind of look at my week as 7 days, 24 hours. And, I enjoy that. I love that constant moving and variety in my day. And then on the weekends, it's all family. But when they say, hey, I just want to go play video games, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go record, so it's I just work around them.
That's great. That sounds like a really good way to stay on top of it. I guess I think that there's a lot of times it's easy to get too many things going, and then it's like you don't know how to do anything because it's like there's too much stuff. And so it sounds like laying it out step by step is really, really important. So that's good. Who have you trained with as far as voiceover coaches go? And is there anyone that you'd like to recommend?
Oh my gosh, there's so many people.
Right?
Well, I mean, there's a variety of different, coaches that I've worked with for different genres in VO. I would say, for commercial, narration, promo, and all the people that I have studied with, I love and work with on a regular basis and would highly recommend to anybody. I've worked with Dave Walsh. We've done commercial, narration, promo. Marice Tobias, fantastic. I've worked with her for many years back when I was on the East Coast as well. Wissner is amazing. Jeff Howell, Jordan Reynolds, Scott Parkin, he's awesome for improv. He's really helped push me out of my shell and just add a lot more variety to my reads. For animation, my go-to people are Ned Lott, Sara Sherman, Sue Boyajian, and Bob Bergen. Those are my four go-to, and it kind of depends on the type of audition or the type of coaching that I'm looking for, because everybody that I work with is amazing, but they all have their different styles and their different approaches, and it's just, it's amazing to have access to all of them. For audiobooks, Scott Brick is incredible. PJ Ochlan, he's amazing for audiobook coaching, performance, and dialects. He's helped me access voices and accents that I had no idea I could even do. Carol Monda is amazing. She's also in New York, and she was the very first person that I coached audiobooks with, and I adore her. Rooney is amazing. Pat Fraley, Johnny Heller. On the business side of audiobooks, Jeff Kafer is also a good friend. He's amazing. He knows so much about the business side of audiobooks that my audiobook career would not be where it is without him. So he's amazing at that. And do workout groups with Tim Friedlander at Gardner Street, which is here in LA. It's just an amazing group of people, and it's great to get that FaceTime and get out of your booth and kind of get that different coaching. So it's cool.
So let's talk goals. What are two of your major voiceover goals that you'd like to accomplish this year?
Well, I think it's, so my three biggest things where my focus mainly lies is animation, commercial, and audiobooks. And so for animation, I have done, since I moved out here, I've done 2 animated series, which was so exciting. It's supposed to be on Netflix. I don't know when or who knows. I keep checking. That was very exciting. So a big goal for me is to book another and have it air. That'd be great. Be a regular with that. To book a national union TV spot, that would be fantastic. And my audiobook goal by the end of the year is to have 50 books on Audible. I just started audiobooks in the summer. My first book went up on Audible in June, and I now have 20 books up there. And my goal by the end of the year is to have 50.
I like
goal-oriented.
I like it. Yeah, I like that. I need to be more goal-oriented, like specific. You know what I mean? I have goals. Sometimes I feel like they're a little lofty and they need to be like more fine-tuned. So you're inspiring me to like get my stuff together, Heather. Got to get it together.
Awesome.
What have some of your biggest obstacles been so far in your voiceover career? And then equally, your biggest successes?
I think probably the biggest obstacle was taking that leap, taking that chance of moving and changing markets. I did have to give up some clients that were in person, where I always went to the studio, and some of them tried the remote thing, but they're like, oh, we really prefer having you here. And so, I had to give up some of those clients and just shifting my focus, because it went from, just kind of living in my own little bubble to, wow, I have all of this available to me. And I feel that when I first moved, as expected, my career took a step back to take, a bunch of steps forward.
Yeah.
A growing period. There was a lot of coaching and studying and revamping. And so it was a little scary, but it came out on the other side. It was I would consider that an obstacle, but it had a happy ending. The successes are probably what I already mentioned, the 2 animation series since moving out here. I'm with DPN. That happened after the move as well here in LA, which they're fantastic. I love them. And just getting into audiobooks. I think that it was kind of something that I'd always wanted to do, had no idea, did that first audition with, you know, some encouragement, and went after it. And it was like, okay, I booked it. Now what do I do? And just kind of jumped in. And I've really, really loved it because I always loved animation. And then I realized audiobook was that same amazing creative outlet of performance in, you know, where I get to be all these different characters and tell these stories. And so I would consider that a big success as well. And just what has happened, you know, since June.
Cool. I saw that you're teaching an X session this year, Voiceover Atlanta, which is in a few weeks, on using Twitter for your voiceover business. And that's so exciting that you're going to be a guest speaker there. Can you give us any tips on this without giving away your presentation?
Sure. Well, I'm really excited. This is my third VO Atlanta, but it's my first time presenting. And I'm doing a breakout session on Twitter as well as an X session. And it's, I love Twitter. It's a marketing tool that I've used for years. I mean, it was always, I kind of saw it as like this moving thing where you know, you just kind of jump in on the conversation, and even if you leave for a little bit and you come back in, you're just, you know, always welcome to the party, if you will. And I've booked work through Twitter. I've built relationships where, you know, I use it as touches in my marketing. So, you know, maybe I contact a company and I market myself to them, and they're like, hey, yeah, this is great. We're going to keep you on our radar. And then maybe, you know, a couple weeks later, I start sharing their blog articles and engaging with their content. It just helps to keep, you know, the conversation going. It keeps you in front of their mind. In the session, in the breakout session, we kind of talked just the overview of how to use Twitter efficiently and effectively so it's not a major time suck, so that you are making the most of it. You know how to hashtag and how to see the people you want to see and engage with those people. And then in the X session, with those students, we're going to dive even further and actually set up a Twitter marketing plan and set up the list that they need and help in the writing of the tweets and get those goals. And people have hired me over the years to actually do their social media for Twitter.
Oh, cool.
And so basically I'm using their voice and just creating it in a way that is effective. Content of what they're looking for and set it up. So in the X session, I'm going to help people be able to kind of do that and get themselves started without having to hire somebody. And then from there they can outsource it or you know, it kind of runs itself. So. Yeah.
Definitely. It can be extremely time consuming if you don't know what you're doing. That it is so important because you have to really want to be on Twitter to make it work. You know, I think I think there's not a lot of like in between. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, you know, because I have friends who are millennials who are like, I hate Twitter, and you know, it's not something that they really want to spend their time on.
Right.
And then I have other friends who are like all about Twitter, who are spending, you know, a specific amount of time per day. And like, this is how much time I have to spend on Twitter. I'm going to say what I have to say. And then, you know, I'll check it a few times, but not spend your whole day on it like I was doing starting out. It was like, oh my gosh, get a grip. So what would you say are maybe one or two tips that you could give to people about Twitter that, you know, that they could have as a takeaway where they could just apply it right away?
Well, one of my favorite things is secret lists. So I also use a program called Hootsuite, and that helps me to kind of see things the way I want to see them. So I can have a list of target words, you know, target hashtags that I want to come up. I can have a list of any time I'm mentioned so I know right away and I can respond or retweet. And these secret lists are beautiful because I can put people on them. Now, of course, you know, it's such a secret, but I can put people on them so that I can track them. So let's say I have a list of e-learning companies that I want to get on my radar this month. I can have a list of those specific companies. So whenever they tweet something, I see it right away, right on that list. So it's just, because when you're following thousands of people and, your home feed, forget it. You're not going to see all the stuff. So it's kind of choosing what you want to see when you want to see it.
Okay.
And that's a way to be super efficient. So.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I knew about the lists. I'm on a few lists. It sounds kind of sketchy when you say it out loud, but yeah, I mean on Twitter, I'm on a few lists.
Yes.
Maybe some other lists too. I don't know. But I don't really know what to do with them is the thing. You know what I mean? Like if somebody puts you on a list and it notifies you've been put on the voiceover list, you're like, okay, that's great. I don't know what to do with that.
Well, if that's a thing. So if it's a public list, you're notified. And then that's kind of like, oh, that's cool. If it's a private list, they don't know.
Oh,
Like
I don't think I knew there were private lists.
Because you can choose if you want to make it public or private.
Oh, got it. Look into that. Cool. Are there any other social media platforms that you like to use for voiceover business and why?
I love LinkedIn. Tracy Lindley is awesome at that. So she's definitely helped me to set up the way I want my business to appear on LinkedIn and how to use it. I love Facebook. I use my personal Facebook page for only people that I actually have met or know in real life.
Right.
And I have a business Facebook page as well that I try to remind myself to keep up because there are people that follow me there that aren't on Facebook and they're not on other, places as well. So I try not to hit, if I want to make an announcement about something work related, I try not to hit every social media one at the same time. That'll be part of my marketing plan. If I have an audiobook release, I'll plan when I'm going to put it on Facebook, when I'm putting it on Instagram, which I also love. And Jonathan Tilley is my go-to for Instagram training. He's fantastic at that, among other business marketing things. So I use Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and I think that's kind of it. I use Pinterest for more research stuff. I do have a board on Pinterest for voiceover, but I don't tend to use it as much anymore for that. I use it more kind of, research networking occasionally, but I don't put as much of my stuff on there.
Would you say that you're booking mostly commercial work since moving to LA, or has it been a good balance across all the genres of voiceover that you do?
It's definitely been a good balance. I've booked more commercial, animation, and audiobooks since moving here.
Yeah. And if you haven't already booked your dream voiceover gig yet, what would it be and why? And if you have, what was it?
So that would have to be being a voice on a Disney animated series, being a regular voice on a Disney, I did something for Disney that is one of the, hopefully on Netflix, but it came through different channels. It's not, so being a voice in an animated Disney series on Disney or Disney Junior would be my lifelong dream.
Got it.
Or a movie. That'd be great too. Disney Princess would be awesome.
Anything would be great, yeah. That's cool. But that's so cool that, because I feel like Netflix is so huge right now that whether you know what I mean? Like whether it was actually on Disney Channel or on Netflix, it really doesn't matter because like everybody has Netflix anyway. So it's
true.
Like,
so I'm getting there.
You're one step closer. Actually, you're like 100 steps closer. So it's good. So if you could offer one piece of advice to voice actors who are just starting out, what would it be?
I would say find your person. Find an amazing accountability partner. Kelly Houston is mine, and I know without a doubt that I would not be where I am today if it weren't for her. She's amazing, incredibly talented, and she motivates me and she inspires me. And when you have somebody that's kind of in your court, that's cheerleading for you, but also helping you be like, whoa, listen, you've talked about doing this for a month. You said it was so important. It hasn't happened yet. Let's get it done. They're there to keep you on track and to celebrate the successes with you. So I think when you have an accountability partner, it helps this job where, you're a solopreneur, you're your own person, you're your own business rather. And you don't have anybody looking over your shoulder saying, hey, did you do this? Or don't forget this, or, so you have somebody to bounce ideas off of, listen to important auditions, and just encourage you.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good idea. Besides Voiceover Atlanta coming up soon, do you have any other appearances or trainings that you're offering coming up?
So I don't know. I know FAFCon was put off, so when that does happen, I will be going to the last FAFCon. They're amazing, and I'm sad that they're ending. I recently went, this past fall, I was at WovoCon. So I'm not sure, if that's on the horizon for me. I had presented there. Yeah, I there's lots of classes that I do kind of locally, and so thankfully I have all these amazing opportunities right here. But VO Atlanta, I cannot wait. I'm super excited.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to attend any workshops or conferences as an attendee in 2019, like instead of being a guest speaker?
Well, I've always been intrigued by your conference. I definitely want to learn more about it and look into it. I haven't had the honor of attending. Definitely want to check it out. I heard such amazing things from it last year. I think it was at the same time as WovoCon. And so it was incredible to see the similarities and differences of the two conferences, since they were simultaneously happening, I believe. Yeah, I heard such great things from it, and I'm excited to check it out myself.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, our next conference is in 2020, so you have a little bit of time to learn about it and think about it. But yeah, I'm really excited. It's shaping up to be a great lineup of guest speakers, and I can't release any information yet because it's all top secret. But trust me, when you find out, you'll be like, oh my gosh, it's great.
I'm very excited. I definitely
yeah. I hope you can make it. It will be a great event. So what are you working on now that you're allowed to talk about?
Right now I am narrating Waters of Salt and Sin, which is it's the first book in a 4-book series by USA Today bestselling author Alicia Klapik. I'm really excited. So it's the first in a 4-book series. I'm finishing that now. I am the voice for Myers Supermarkets, their TV, radio spots, and their online content. I have a national radio spot airing for Levelor Blinds at Lowe's. And I have a bunch of corporate narrations that are currently in use. The most recent one I just did was for Johnson & Johnson. So, nice. And then lots of other little exciting small things that, make up the full career.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like
I love the variety.
Voice, your voice and a little bit of everything. That's great. Mm-hmm. I think something that really is interesting to me is the commercial work that you do as well. Advice on commercial work, because I think that's something that I struggle with a little bit because I'm so character oriented, and most of the work that I do is character voiceover work. So would you have any advice for, I guess, kind of the differences in technique between commercial and, and that transition from a character to a commercial, finding the balance? Do you know what I'm asking?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I definitely know what you're talking about. Well, there's a few things. So as everybody knows, the reads today in commercial are so just real person, conversational, not put on. Improv helped me tremendously. Every once in a while I find myself kind of getting stuck in a performance mode. When I realize that's happening, it's like, oh, got to take a step back. It's time for some improv. I have to loosen myself up. Another really cool thing that I found is, I didn't obviously realize it until it started happening. The more audiobooks I had started doing, the better my commercial reads became.
Oh, cool.
Because the audiobooks are just telling a story. It's just conversational. There's nothing about it. You're like talking in the ear of your listener. It's just versus that, okay, I'm doing a commercial, you know? So if I find myself kind of getting stuck in a commercial read, occasionally I've just started reading an audiobook and then I'll go into the commercial just to kind of break myself from that pattern. Lynn Wissner has this awesome technique where you kind of walk up to the mic, you're just kind of having a conversation. Dave Walsh's True Tell method helps in visualizing who you are and who you're talking to. These are all great commercial things that have helped me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Kind of like a silent lead-in almost.
Yes. Yes.
Where you're...
Yep. And sometimes I'll do that, and sometimes I keep them, sometimes I edit it out, depending on what it is.
Right. And
I just remind myself just to play and have fun and connect with it. Sometimes if I'm not feeling it, if I'm like, oh my gosh, I just, something's not clicking, it's not working, I will walk away, go do something completely different and come back. Like I won't make myself crazy trying to get to somewhere where I, for some reason, can't. And I feel also, since moving out to California, another thing that has been amazing and a big change in my life is just being healthier and active. And, every day we're outside walking, biking, swimming. And so if I find myself physically getting stuck, I will start doing some yoga. I will take a walk. I will change my physiology. And all of that has helped my energy and my just presence behind the mic. So I'll do things that is not just like, okay, so what technique can I change? But it's what can I do to my instrument and my mind to help it.
Yeah, definitely. I think those are really good ideas for everybody. I think having a good balance is so important. And it sounds like you really just have everything together, Heather. I'm so happy for you and proud of you.
It's a journey.
Yeah, it's so... People know I had the chance to meet Heather a few years ago in person at one of Uncle Roy's barbecues. And I think I had sort of met you beforehand, but it was like, that was when I think I formally met you in person, although it might have been at the Voxy Summit. I don't know anymore. It's been a while. But it's always so fun to see people make such a big step and to really be successful, and I've seen so many people in the industry do that. And it's like, you just I'm always like so happy for people, because I have my company and I'm doing that and I'm doing my thing and I'm doing my show and I'm doing like a lot of stuff, it's like, but I'm always a little bit all over the place, but that's just how I am. But it's always inspiring to hear techniques that you use to stay organized and how you stay emotionally and mentally with it and in your technique. And I think that that's such an important thing for people to realize when they're doing voiceovers, that you really do have to have that balance between your family and your voiceover and the training and just staying, very organized. It's definitely very helpful to stay organized.
I was going to say, having that support system in place is super important. Thankfully, my husband is incredibly supportive. I mean, obviously, he moved cross country.
Yeah.
So
much more supportive than that. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Heather. I really appreciate your time and wish you all of the success in the world. And I'm sure that you'll be next Disney animated series pretty soon. So we wish you tons of luck with that. And we hope to see you at a Mabel conference in the future.
Thank you so much.
Before we go, one last thing, just tell everybody where they can find you on social media and your website.
Sure. I have two websites. heathercosta.com is my main voiceover one, and heathercostaaudiobooks.com is my audiobook one. My handle across all social media is at heathercostavo. So feel free to find me there.
Great. Thanks again.
Thank you.